Hello, everyone. You don't have to attend air shows to experience amazing moments from the world of aviation. This compilation has it all. From graceful aerial maneuvers to impressive aircraft, you'll see a bit of everything today. Let's get it on. The guys were getting ready to skydive from nearly 5,000 meters. They were so concentrated that they didn't even realize at first when the plane tilted, and then this happened. Sometimes an emergency landing can look like this. Due to technical issues, the plane had to make an emergency landing right in the water near a public beach. Thankfully, everyone, including the pilot, is safe and sound. Perhaps the worst thing you can see out the plane window is an engine in that condition. You can't miss the takeoff and landing of this plane. Not only is it massive, but it also kicks up a huge cloud of dust. One more phobia that you couldn't even imagine before.
Hostia. Ojito, ¿eh? A ver si se puede ver. Mira, mira. Buah, el morro y todo. Mira, todo metido para adentro.
Unfortunately, landings aren't always smooth. At a Texas airport, a bystander managed to film a rough landing.
Oh my gosh.
With rain falling, the runway was too wet, and the anti-skid systems didn't kick in. The plane simply couldn't stop and rolled past the end of the runway.
Holy moly.
The pilot and both passengers were unharmed, but the plane didn't fare so well. Even in the sky, it can get pretty busy at the gas stations. Thankfully, tanker planes are there for situations like these. The only one who can break the traffic rules on the highway. This is like the heavyweight lifting of aviation. Before the start of the air racing season, pilots practice on these tracks. It's almost like a video game, but with way more adrenaline. As the plane touched down, it unexpectedly tilted forwards and proceeded down the runway in that position. It wasn't the smoothest landing, but thankfully the pilot and passengers are unharmed. The pilot decided to give the passengers a brief taste of zero gravity. And thought it was a bit scary at first, but they ended up loving the experience. Everyone held their breath as they watched the plane land with faulty landing gear. Thankfully, the pilot proved to be a real pro and successfully landed the plane despite the problem. Pilots can sometimes pull off feats that make them seem like real superheroes. They land planes, even in situations where it looks totally impossible. I hope you only see something like this in videos. You can tell how fast this plane is going just by looking at the water. Piloting an airplane is no easy feat, and nature can make it even tougher. Trying to land a big aircraft in gusty conditions where it's swaying from side to side is nearly impossible, yet real pros manage to do it. The plane scoops water in one go from the surface to fill its tank before heading out to fight fires. Even thousands of hours of flying experience don't guarantee that you'll avoid crashes. These two guys got lucky. The landing was rough, since the landing gear wasn't deployed, but the men themselves were perfectly fine. The plane's propellers, however, are likely beyond repair.
Je guettais l'autre.
Bonjour. Bonjour, monsieur. Bonjour. Bon, le problème, pardon. Oui.
Very rare footage of missiles being launched from fighter jets. It's like the pilots also surprised by what his aircraft can do. Here's what pilots observed when flying through clusters of static electricity. They got a free light show on the airplane windows, which was completely harmless. No, that's not rain you hear. It's just a helicopter passing through a huge swarm of locusts. It's nice to know that even when you're on a cruise far from shore, you're in good hands. If something doesn't go as planned, there's air medical support ready to evacuate you and get you to the nearest hospital. The key is to listen to the doctors and not be afraid of heights. Videos from airports on Caribbean islands are always amazing. Look at how close planes get to the road and the hill. I get it, pal. It's tough not to get excited watching a Navy plane hover in the air. That's a video test to check if you can become a pilot. This guy's vestibular system's rock solid. It's not a dust storm or a desert hurricane, it's all because of the helicopter. Although this kind of effect only happens during the takeoff of seriously powerful flying machines. Who said that being a pilot isn't a creative profession? I mean, look at those drawings in the sky. Some firefighters operate in the air as well. Take these guys for instance. They're tasked with putting out large forest fires and making sure that flames don't spread. And they're doing an awesome job at it. As the air from the propeller cools down quickly, water vapor condenses and becomes visible, forming these incredibly beautiful swirls. The Mi-35 pilot wanted to give vacationers an unforgettable experience. It's no wonder people couldn't take their eyes off the helicopter. Check out how many people gathered near the runway to get a close-up view of the plane landing. The audience at the Paris Air Show got a real treat, seeing an unbelievable vertical takeoff of an aircraft. It seemed more like gliding, flying, don't you think? Other than how impressive it looks, it's simply here to drop off a new car for the presentation. Can you imagine the level of skill it takes to fly a plane in a 360-degree turn and pour water into a glass at the same time? If it weren't for the slow-mo parts, you wouldn't have even noticed how that fighter jet zoomed past.
Mayday. Og så et såkalt fixiluro, hovring med turbinfyr, veldig sjeldent å se.
Everyone who loves aviation just adores that sound. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that a storm has started on the other side of the world right now. The top-tier aerobatic group really shows why they're considered so awesome. They fly so closely that it seems like the pilots could almost touch the neighbouring aircraft if they stretched out their hands. You probably won't see a weirder looking plane anytime soon. This aircraft is incredibly fast, can take off vertically, and is generally quite unique. It only uses 10% of its power for short flights. Thanks to this efficiency, it can make trips that a regular plane couldn't handle. And let's not forget, it looks a million times cooler than your average aircraft.
You're over the pad. Okay, let's continue with the cooldown.
Watching this plane land is quite a sight, especially with this kind of scenery. Here's what happens when a worker testing the emergency system accidentally presses the wrong button. The fire suppression system released a massive amount of foam in just a few seconds, flooding everything. If your mistake ends up in the news, a mere slap on the wrist won't suffice. When everyone in a group of friends is awesome. I'm sure the operator had a hard time not waving at the second plane. What if there's another thrilled passenger by the window? Let's just enjoy the awesome takeoff of the supersonic bomber from the airbase in Las Vegas. Aviation fans might find it hard to watch. The pilot isn't panicking, neither should you. He's just pulling off another incredible stunt. These shots are from California, where a plane had to put out a big forest fire. Using a special liquid sprayed over the hotspots, pilots managed to stop the fire from spreading further. Flying can feel like dancing in the sky. This isn't a first-person video game, it's actual footage from the cockpit of a plane landing on an aircraft carrier. Did you also get a little scared for a second, thinking that it wouldn't stop? Before the firefighters arrived, the sheriff had to start putting out the fire himself. His helicopter scooped up and dropped water 55 times to fight the fire. Great job. I can imagine the driver's face when he saw how close that plane was to him. What's the most nerve-wracking experience you've encountered in your training? Take, for example, this student. He had to do his first 360-degree spin. Hello everyone. Challenges come in all forms, from the simple to the ones requiring serious training. Today, you'll witness some of the most difficult challenges that are almost impossible to beat. Let's get it on. You've got a minute to grab as much money as you can carry. But here's the catch. The bills are flying around you at an insanely high speed. That cash cube sure looks tempting. It seems like an easy way to make a quick buck. But once inside, many discover that winning big requires strategy. Some stash money in bags and pockets or simply grab bills greedily. You'd be surprised, but the most effective way is to just sit back and do nothing, like this guy here. People say that you can make $240 in a minute this way. It's like a real-life example of don't chase money, let it come to you. Would you dare to walk across such a bridge? In China, it's actually a pretty popular activity where people challenge themselves to face their fear of heights. They must cross a small bridge suspended over a cliff. The steps are designed in a way that in some places, it's not enough to just take a step. You have to jump. And sometimes this happens. At times, it feels like no safety harness could protect them. The bridge seems to sway not from the wind, but from the shaky legs of the frightened people. It's scary to imagine what they must be going through. This challenge looks really tempting. I mean, who wouldn't want to pay a few bucks and get a gold bar in return? But it's not as easy as it seems. You have to retrieve the bar from a glass cube through a small hole. It's designed so that there's only a few millimeters of space between the hole's walls and your hand. That's why you can't hold onto the bar and have to lift the roughly 10-kilogram piece of gold with your fingers stretched out. It seems crazy, but even so, someone manages to nail it. I wonder if they trained their finger muscles just for this challenge. Ever thought about trying bungee jumping? What if I said it would be over an active volcano? This guy did more than just think about it. He organized an amazing trip to Chile and did the jump. He was well aware of the risks, but he couldn't pass up the chance. He jumped from a helicopter hovering directly over the volcano's mouth. The cool thing about bungee jumping is that you just need a moment of courage. Once you step off, there's no going back. But check out those intense feelings. You've probably seen videos of this thing and thought, that looks easy, I'd never lose my balance. But you have no idea how hard it really is. You can choose to stand anywhere on this swinging bridge, and it makes all the difference. If you're in the center, that's where the swaying is the strongest. Some people manage to fall even from relatively easy spots. Holding your ground in the center is a real challenge. Not everyone can do it. And those who can do it effortlessly seem like they've mastered some secret technique. Look at them. It's like he's levitating. There's an amazing alternative to bull riding. Your goal is to hang onto a sack suspended on a rope over water. The tricky part is that several people periodically tug on that rope. It looks something like this. Even grown men get tossed around in the water like rag dolls. Needless to say, hanging onto the sack in these conditions is no easy feat, and just when people started feeling like they've nailed it, they ended up falling right into the water. Imagine if they combined a reaction test with an agility challenge. That'd make for a really fun challenge. The goal is to grab falling sticks that drop randomly. Surprisingly, when you're up against the machine, you realize that it's far more challenging than it seemed at first glance. You have to pay close attention to which stick is dropping, manage to catch it, and hold on to it. You've only got a couple of seconds for each one before the next one starts to fall. Looking at this, one might wonder if he has superpowers. Either he can slow down time, or he's as quick as Spider-Man. Want to make chess more intense? Try playing it in an ice hole like these guys. It's way more thrilling. But keeping your focus is a different story. Sitting in freezing water, it's hard to concentrate on the pieces and plan your moves, yet they seem to be doing quite well. It's really hard to keep your balance on a bike, especially when you have to cross an extremely narrow bridge. The goal of this competition is to ride from one bank to the other. Sounds simple enough. The only catch is the path is super narrow, with a slight incline and decline. Oh, and its length can vary depending on how wide the river is. For instance, at one of these competitions in Nepal, the bridge was 52 meters long. Nevertheless, someone nailed it. A guy breezed through the distance in just 1 minute and 56 seconds, winning a nice cash prize. How did she do that? A lot of people ask this question, think that stopping the timer is too easy because it shows the time already. However, the trick is to press the button just right to stop the timer at a specific time, down to 100th of a second. Getting too excited, people do it ahead of time, or on the contrary, wait longer than needed. It's a challenge where everyone can test their reaction, and in some bars, winning could score you a free drink. These platforms float well on the water, but as soon as you step on one, it starts sinking. To cross without getting wet, you have to run quickly, stepping right in the center. If you hesitate or slip up even a little, you better be ready for a swim session. It's practically impossible to stay on. While anyone can cross a short distance, only the chosen few can conquer a 118-meter bridge. A Shaolin monk dedicated years of training to achieve this feat, nearly stumbling at one point, but ultimately prevailing with sheer determination to reach the other side. There's an old tradition during the Feast of St. Peter that's been around for almost a century. It's simple. People try to walk along a grease-covered pole to grab a flag at the end. It's a fun event, so folks gather eagerly to join in or watch others slip into the water. The pole is so slippery that it seems impossible to stay on, let alone make it to the end. So it's always a joy for everyone when someone makes it. Do you think doing pull-ups on the bar is tough? I bet the folks who did the Tarzan challenge would disagree. They definitely know hanging on a bar for 100 seconds straight can be way harder. Every passing second, your own weight pulls you down more. Your arms grow numb, and the shouts and countdowns meant to encourage you only distract you and make it hard to focus.
6, 5, 4, 3, go! Yes, you have it!
However, there are guys who find this easy. Perhaps it's about physical fitness and strategy. This guy switched hands, hanging from one at a time, which turned out to be much easier than hanging from both at once. And it worked. This game attracts people with apparent simplicity. Everyone thinks rolling the ball to the hole without dropping it along the way is easy.
Get it, girl.
Come on, Brookie.
Yeah.
Come on, Brookie.
But in reality, you have to spend a lot of time practicing near this thing to finally pull it off. Maybe someone gets lucky on their 10th or 20th try. But you need a natural sense of balance and high concentration to ace the challenge on the first go. It seems this girl has it all. It must be one of the oldest challenges in the world. They say that it started 2 centuries ago. And no, it's not just about rolling down a slope. In a small village in England, they hold an annual race down the hilltop. What makes it special is that they're chasing after a wheel of cheese rolled down the hill just before they start. People try to catch the rolling cheese, but the slope of the hill causes them to trip and fall. They gain so much speed that there are people at the bottom whose main task is to just catch the runners. It looks bizarre, but the participants say that it's incredibly fun, and the winner gets the cheese as a reward. There are quite a few strange games and customs in the world that you've probably never heard of. Take Botaoshi, for instance, a Japanese game involving 150 people split into two teams. One team defends a small pole while the other tries to capture it. If the pole tilts 30 degrees, the defending team automatically loses. With matches lasting just 2 minutes, attackers go all out to get on the pole, even climbing over other humans. Even though hitting and rough play are banned, the game still seems pretty intense, don't you think? Have you ever been frustrated with a claw machine when it unexpectedly dropped the prize you were hoping for? Now, imagine having the chance to be that claw and grab as much as you can. That's the idea behind this new challenge, where participants are secured on a sturdy rope, lowered into a pile of snacks, and the goal is to snatch as many as possible. Whatever snacks you manage to grab, you get to keep. As the rope pulls the person back, some snacks from the pile fall down. But if you're clever enough, you can manage to grab some even with your feet. Remember the famous bottle cap challenge? It was impressive enough when done with it's clearly not their first successful try, but just imagine the faces of the driver and everyone watching when they pulled it off for the very first time. Triathlon isn't something everyone can handle. Not every athlete dares to accept this challenge. Take this course in Norway, for instance. First, participants swim 3.8 kilometers across a fjord, diving right in from a ferry. Then they cycle 180 kilometers through challenging terrain with a total climb of 3,000 meters. But the challenge doesn't stop there. They finish with a run of a little over 40 kilometers, including a mountain climb. Just imagine how exhausted the participants are as they reach the finish line. But when you realize you've made it through, you feel invincible. Kayaking downstream is a thrill for real daredevils. It's not like leisurely paddling on a quiet lake. Here, you need to be prepared to do more than just get wet. You're in for a battle with nature. While kayaking, people often navigate areas inaccessible by regular boats, trying to stay on course in intense waterfall. Sometimes, these adventurers start on snowy slopes, adding an extra layer of challenge. Check it out. They use paddles to steer the kayak and push forward. It's definitely not like a leisurely sled ride, is it? The guy didn't come here for the match, and he definitely doesn't work at the stadium. He came to challenge himself and ride the world's highest rope swing. It's located at a stadium in Durban. Daredevils jump from 88 meters high to swing over the stadium. I can't even imagine what this guy did for kicks before if he decided to go for something like this. What's the most amazing challenge you've ever taken on? Tell us in the comments. No matter how good of a driver you consider yourself, most of us will never reach that level of skill. Just think about how well you need to feel the car and its dimensions to control it so accurately. When it comes to driving a bus, everything becomes so much more complex. After all, it's a huge vehicle. You need to spend plenty of time behind the wheel, navigating around cones in the parking lots to master driving so accurately and safely. With a pro like that at the wheel, I wouldn't have a single worry, even on the trickiest roads. Ever imagined yourself as Indiana Jones, fleeing from a massive rolling boulder? Well, we've got some good news for you. At a zorbing park in the US, they have a similar challenge. You can race down a gently sloping hill with a giant inflatable ball, just over 3 meters in diameter, chasing you. Just grab your comfy sneakers, run fast, and watch your step along the way. People enjoy this activity because, unlike a boulder, this ball can't harm anyone, even if it rolls on somebody. So many eagerly try to outrace the big ball. Cornhole is a highly popular game in North America, where the objective is to toss a small beanbag from a few meters away into a hole in a board. You score 1 point for landing on the board and 3 points for getting it into the hole. It's easy to set up a board at home and see if you can hit the target on the first try. With a bit more practice, you might become accurate enough to compete in championships. By the way, if you find this game boring, here's a fun way to spice it up. If Spider-Man's ability to climb walls impresses you, this challenge will blow your mind. Using special shoes and ropes, people race up wooden poles in a matter of seconds. They must have trained for months to climb with such ease, like they're running on a flat surface. Unlike other guys who rely on their equipment, this one did it all by himself, which is clearly much harder than it looks. It's as if he was born with this unique skill. I hope he didn't get any splinters. Here's what the recruits in the Royal Marines go through. A mud run is a vital part of their training. Just look at the challenges they have to push through. It makes you realise your office internship isn't that tough after all. Speaking of defying gravity, seasoned climbers know that in their sport, the legs are what really matters. Beginners often mistakenly believe that it's all about building arm strength and pulling themselves up, but as these guys demonstrate, it's not the case. The trick is to focus on your legs and learn to use them to push yourself up. This way you can achieve amazing results and climb steep slopes without even using your hands. That looks quite high. Well, that took a lot of guts, pal. He doesn't just throw rocks into the water before jumping for no reason. When you're doing something this extreme, you've got to make sure the bottom is deep enough, or you're in for trouble. And the jumping technique itself has to be just right. He does it like a true pro though. Check out his smooth entry into the water. It's also really important for everything to go well, since hitting the water during such a jump can be quite serious. But for people like him, things like these are just a way to have fun. Maybe you've seen something like this at an amusement park, but trust me, it's nothing like a real astronaut centrifuge. This fast-spinning machine is designed to prevent people from blacking out due to high G-forces. When you're moving fast, blood can rush away from your head, causing vision problems and even fainting. Such training, including sessions inside a centrifuge, helps astronauts adapt to similar conditions and better endure space flights. Volcano boarding is an adventure for those who got bored of skiing or surfing. It's also a test of your limits. Going down a volcano covered in ash and lava can be risky due to the uneven terrain. On top of that, ash gets kicked up into the air during the descent, which can get in your eyes and lungs. It's better not to take chances and protect yourself with goggles and a mask, but it's totally worth it. Not everyone can boast that they've surfed down an active volcano.
Finally, the pillar was coming down.
One Japanese city hosts a fascinating festival. Every 6 years, locals fell large logs and prepare them for a ceremony. The goal is to carry these logs to the base of an ancient temple to strengthen its foundation, but the method they use is quite unconventional. Many young people in traditional costumes sit on the logs and ride them down the slope. As you can imagine, it doesn't always go smoothly. At first glance, it seems pretty chaotic, but locals insist that it's actually an exciting show and a lot of fun to join in. There are divers who get bored with just swimming in the open sea, checking out coral reefs, so they decide to up the ante with an already complex underwater sport. Cave diving is both fascinating and dangerous. It lets you discover unique species that others can't see, but it comes with risks. In addition to dealing with temperature shifts, darkness and murky water, divers also have to keep in mind they can't just surface whenever they want. If they need oxygen from above, they have to leave the cave first. But for those who don't suffer from claustrophobia, it's a thrilling adventure. Even a dance machine can become quite a challenge, especially if you choose the hardest level. It seems designed to make dancing as easy as pie. There are arrows on a special platform, and the screen shows you exactly when and where to step. Sure, it's a fun time on easy mode, but it turns into a real challenge on hard mode. You can find these machines in many malls, so give it a shot and see just how cool this guy really is.